Welcome back. This is Daybreak. Thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Ledama Olakina is the senator representing Narok County with us in the studio. Good morning, Senator, as well as the Minority Whip. Thanks for your time all the way from Narok to grace the show. The Deputy Government Spokesperson, Gabriel Mudoma, is with us as well. Good morning, Gabriel. Thank you for your presence here. And you walked alone in the forest. For the weekend.
You know,
Gathoni Mushomba is the lawmaker representing Githunguri. She will be here shortly with us, and gentlemen, and the lady who will be joining us shortly. Let's begin with the last 2 years and putting what has been the 2-year presidency of President William Ruto under the spotlight here. First, to begin with you, Senator, what in your view has worked for the Kenya Kwanza administration and what hasn't?
And thank you so much for inviting me this morning. And it's rather unfortunate that we cannot turn back the hands of time, because what has happened in the last 2 years has been a total disaster, taking this country back to the times when poverty reigned. This year has been, the last 2 years, has totally been promise after promise after promise. Nothing tangible. In the legislative arm of government, because of almost similar to like a supermajority that the KK government has been a charade of passing legislations. You know, a piece of legislation is introduced, and within a short time, regardless of the spirited fight we put to try and ensure fiduciary responsibility in this country, it is literally drama galore, it is corruption galore, and everything that has happened has taken us back almost 20 years. Mama Mboga, who really the campaign of KK had attempted to put her up, she's crying. You know, I can tell you, if you ask any single legislator today how many text messages they receive and from what time, you know, asking for 530 shillings, you'll be shocked. So the last 2 years has been a total disaster. This was really, the height of this was June 25th, when young citizens had enough, and they said, no, enough is enough. And the biggest problem is that this corruption scandals seems to have really increased also mostly in the county governments. You know, when you go to a county government, I was just going through the papers today, you will see that the control of budget has indicated that, a few counties, including my county of Narok, had the highest on-source revenue. But there's really nothing to show, you know, absolutely nothing to show. If you look at the health sector as an example, the national government will come in and say, we want to pay community health workers, we'll give you 50% of the money, and then you raise 50% of the money to pay them. Counties don't have that money because it's not part of their budget. And the reason being, most of the health budget is being retained by the national government. Okay. If you go into the industrial park, there was a period of time when the newspapers were awash with stories of, industrial park being constructed. My friend Moses Kuria was running around setting up those industrial park. You know, today, 2 years down the line, it's nothing. It's maybe just plaques of launched by, the cabinet secretary, or maybe some of them is like a foundation done 2 years down the line. If you go to all the 47 counties, and I speak with authority on this because I sit in the Public Investments Account Committee in the Senate, so I have an eye and I'm able to oversight these issues, you will see that there's a lot that has not been done. You see a lot of projects are stalled. Okay. In fact, in some cases, you will find that governors are now finding it easy just to line their own pocket because they're learning from the top. Okay. A lot of corruption cases were dropped. You ask questions as to why those corruption cases were dropped. No one gives you an answer. We have gone back. Right now, you'll find that even in Parliament, staff of Parliament, most of them have not been paid their salaries. We've never had a situation like this. Okay. You know, this is really the lowest we can ever have.
Okay, and Senator, you had mentioned one historic day in our calendar, that is June 25th, when young protesters like thunderbolts from the clear skies landed on the Kenyan political space. And you have also on countless times used the plural we, meaning, of course, the bicameral parliament where you serve as a senator representing Narok County. How much of the collective failure, the wholesale failure by the political class would you take here, given that the Kenyan people have looked up to you as leaders, but there's a failure which is a collective one and therefore which informs their resentment towards the political class? The
truth of the matter, and being very candid, is that we take full responsibility, because Parliament is not supposed to be opposition versus government. Parliament is supposed to be the house that checks the executive. But unfortunately, in this era, we are actually married, and there is this marriage between the executive and the legislative arm of government. What the executive wants, the legislative must deliver, which is actually very, very, very sad, because the framers of our constitution saw it fit to set 3 arms of government. But for that, they can be able to have a check and balance system. We do not have that in this country. You know, if the executive say it is this way, it's either that way or the highway. And it's quite sad, because we're talking about trying to make this country a better place. You know, every single day I hear the president saying, we will do this, we will do this, we will do this, until I said, enough, just practice what you preach. You know, we talk about jobs creation, and then every single day there's this back and forth. I mean, the latest one is the German saying that we never said we're going to give you 250,000 jobs.
We'll talk about that.
So the thing is, it is promise after promise after promise. And I agree, and actually, let me say, we in the legislative arm of government have totally failed.
Okay. Gabriel, coming to you. What has worked?
Ayub Abdikadir, and you know, you started actually by throwing a banter that we walked in the forest. You know,
and alone.
And you know, that has actually been a huge issue with most of my, with most of my clan. Everybody is throwing banters at me. But anyway, I think I actually don't want to paint, a very dark picture like my good senator has done. But I think there indeed are things that have worked. Just like you said, there are hits and there are misses. But at the same time, I keep reminding all of us that building a nation does not have a hooray moment. I don't think there will ever come a time where we will all celebrate and say we have arrived. A nation must be subjected to progressive advance at every stage. And I think when it all started out, the president promised several things through his bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And true to the fact, and I know we were going to be looking or highlighting some of those things, as we move along this morning, some has really worked. And you can actually see change. When you look at agriculture, when you look at housing, when you look at the digital and how the e-citizen now is changing lives, what he's talked about, the KIPES. All these are programs that are continuing. Abdikadir, are we there yet? Definitely no. Will we get there? By all means necessary, I believe, because that is the faith I come with. I believe this country will be better than we found it.
Okay, we'll talk about the other areas as well, because they were the 5 key pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which the president launched as his manifesto on 30th of June 2022, upon which the Kenyan people gave him the mandate. Honorable Gathoni Mushoma, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you here.
Nice to have me here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Elected
on a UDA party ticket, the last 2 years have proved, as given the events which have surrounded the government since the last 2 years when the president ascended to authority, tumultuous to some extent. We are seeing very apparent fissures within the presidency, what's happening in the mountain. But what has worked for the people of Kenya in the past 2 years from your perspective?
Good morning, our viewers and my panelists. I am glad to be here. Yes, it has been 2 years, and I'm glad I'm elected through the ruling coalition, but that does not mean that I do not see misses and I do not appreciate achievements. Generally, I think if you asked me, KK government can score about 30%.
Okay, that's 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm a woman leader, and one of my key interests, and the reason why I actually joined the party was because I believed in the women space, political space. And for me, we have not achieved as agreed, because we even had a women charter during campaigns.
Yeah.
We signed a women charter at the Railways Club, and His Excellency the President committed himself into complying to the requirement of the 2/3 in both houses of Parliament, in his cabinet, and he was also to appeal to the counties to make sure that every other opportunity available, women have the required threshold. But that did not even happen with his party. The first goof that he did was to promise women, and then within his own party, he subjected women into party primaries, where most of the promising women lost it. And he went on, and we had elections. And when it came to appointing and nominating people to occupy some offices that were not elective, he did not even comply with what he had committed himself. So for me, I sit here as a member of Parliament, serving on my second term, feeling like the last government did better on women political space than this government, and there are no efforts. There are no efforts to achieve 2/3, noting that we have had this 2/3 debate in both houses of Parliament for quite some time. In the National Assembly, we have had the 2/3 gender rule debates for 8 times, and we've never succeeded. So the President did an executive memo, if I'm not wrong. I don't know whether it was a memo or it was an executive order.
In December 2023.
Yes, yeah. And he directed that we needed to do some gender fill-ups.
Okay.
But what has happened since then? Nothing. He went on and talked about the NADCO report, where we were supposed to have achieved through the memo was supposed to be achieved through the NADCO report implementation. Nothing has happened. 2 years down the line, we still have less women in Parliament. We have very few people in the committee leadership in Parliament, and we are yet to achieve the 2/3 quota in all sectors of government.
Okay.
So to me, that is a serious goof. And I sympathize with the women of Kenya, because women of Kenya, especially within the political space, are used to like the catalyst of politics. Look at the way women dress, women sing, dance, attend meetings. Right now, I'm seeing the Kenya Kwanza coalition reviving what they are calling Inua Mama. And the men are pegging on the Inua Mama activities to go and do their dirty tribal politics. Let me call them that way. So we use women as catalyst of change. We use women as catalyst of politics. But when it comes to the real share of government opportunities and even available opportunities, women are sidelined.
All right.
So I think Kenya Kwanza, I'm speaking as a woman leader, elected on my second term, having served in the previous parliament. Kenya Kwanza government has not achieved and fulfilled what they promised the women of Kenya. Number 2, we have seen the misses and the goofs around women issues. Issues of sanitary towels. You have seen even the dare attempt of increasing taxes in the failed finance bill 2024 on sanitary towels. Look at how women of Kenya have been treated with matters health, Linda Mama, reproductive health, withdrawing Linda Mama amidst confusion when doctors are on strike and women are left on their own to deliver on their own. So I think for me, the women of Kenya have a reason to complain. I do not think that the Kenya Kwanza government, which is my government, has done it. And that is actually why I'm one of those that have been accused of criticizing the government that I am in. And I criticize the government that I am in because I feel the constituency that I represent, the women constituency, is completely forgotten by Kenya Kwanza.
And you have the right to the criticisms because we live in a secular state and it's a democracy. Then you talk about the women affairs and you being a member of the ruling party, So what happened to the promise you made to the Kenyan people, for example, to address the price of transport, food and alcoholics, housing, water, electricity, cooking gas, and the others? Because you have passionately talked about the women affair. So what about the majority of Kenyans that include women and men who have looked up to the Kenya Kwanza government and they gave you the vote based on the promises you made, which have not been met? Do you also take responsibility for that?
Of course, yes. How can I jump out? I mean, we've lost it. We've not achieved it. During the Women Charter signing, there are many things that we promised other than just the women agenda. In it, we had the promise of making sure that we bring down the cost of living. What is cost of living? It is that drop of oil that you use in your kitchen. It is that unga that you make ugali with. It is that oil that you smear yourself or you apply yourself in the morning. It is that very small input you use to generate whatever revenue you generate in your cottage industry or in your farm or in your business. So generally, the DAT shoot that we have used to deliver the women agenda is the same DAT shoot we've used on all other platforms.
Okay.
We have failed on agriculture. Let us be honest. Let us be very, very honest. For me as a woman,
yes,
noting that very many women are actively involved in our farms. Actually, they own the farms. We implement the activities within the farm. Selling to us substandard fertilizer, adulterated fertilizer, that to me was a miss,
okay,
a big miss.
Okay.
And let me tell you, if you do not get it right on fertilizer,
yeah,
you lose across the chain.
Okay, we will talk about the outcome because the argument is that there was also, to be fair, an increase in production. But the prices are subject to argument. I'll be citing the report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics here when we get back from the break. And Senator, I'll begin with you and also Gabriel to you, because there are other important matters that matter to the Kenyan people, which is about the cost of food, the cost of transport, the cost of fuel. And given that it's the Kenyan people who accord you the mandate, including the president, the checks and balances, and also some of the major happenstances in the past 2 years of President William Ruto's administration here. And Senator, of course, you'll be talking to us about the incorporation of 4 key ODM party members in cabinet and what that means for the government for the next 3 years, and also what happened yesterday in Nyeri County when the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, failed to attend a function that the president was also attending. All that after the break here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. More after the break here on the broadcast.